The millionaire farmer is shocked when a poor black girl reveals his wife's dark secret. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves stirred by an unseen breeze. Strange shadows flickered across the cracked walls, like whispers urging James Thompson to confront hard truths. Every creak of the floorboards echoed with ominous weight, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf shattered the quiet, sending chills racing down his spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. On the sweeping fields of his estate, vibrant colors danced beneath the warm sun, bold yellows and deep greens whispering of abundance. Yet inside the polished walls of his home, darkness simmered. As he surveyed his kingdom of corn and cattle from his expansive porch, James let a nervous smile slip, a mask for the mounting unease that gnawed at his heart. When the sun began to dip low, blanketing the horizon in hues of orange and purple, a young girl emerged. Her presence charged the air with an unsettling urgency. Really, just a child, with ebony skin that shimmered in the fading light, approached him with an intensity that sent his pulse racing. Her eyes, wide and fierce, seemed to hold a storm of secrets. "Mr. Thompson?" she said, her voice trembling. "I know something about Sarah." Each word hung in the air like a silent thunderclap, shocking him from the tranquility of his idyllic life. Panic twisted in his gut. "What do you mean?" The facade of his perfect existence felt fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a cliff. "I can't say much here, but she's not who you think she is." Lily's hands shook as she spoke, echoing the tremors racing through him. James felt the walls of his world begin to constrict. As he listened, waves of doubt crashed around him. Images of a heart that had swelled with love now teetered on the brink of suspicion. "The town whispers," Lily continued, her words dripping with urgency. "There's a story buried, and it's dangerous." James struggled to breathe, the lump in his throat heavy as iron. The weight of uncertainty pressed down, each heartbeat echoing against the hollow cavity of his terrified chest. What could Sarah be hiding? Was his love built on deception? Just when he thought he could trust Lily's unsettling truths, doubt seeped into his mind. Why did she know this? What did she hope to gain? Her urgency was laced with desperation, and a flicker of something untrustworthy glinted in her gaze. Before he could utter another word, his phone buzzed violently against his pocket. He fumbled to pull it out, eyes darting back to Lily, who was studying him with a fierce intensity. The screen shimmered, revealing a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the old barn. Tonight. You need to know the truth." A chill raced through him, a shiver that curled around his spine like frost. The barn, once a cherished staple of his childhood, now a shadowed relic filled with the ghosts of secrets he'd rather forget. James stood on the precipice of revelation, peering into the abyss of uncertainty that loomed ahead. Would he choose to confront whatever dark truth awaited him, or allowed doubt to cloud his judgment? The answer felt tantalizingly close, yet infinitely out of reach. James stood frozen, phone vibrating like a heartbeat in his palm. The barn loomed in his mind, a dark silhouette against the fading light. Secrets, danger. His pulse quickened, each thud a reminder of the weight of fear pressing down on him. "Mr. Thompson?" Lily's voice cut through the haze. "You need to hurry." He nodded, but his feet felt rooted to the wooden planks. Everything felt wrong. His life, once so certain, now spun like a tornado. Chaotic and fierce. I need to think," he stammered, forcing himself to move, to confront the unknown. The barn was just a stone's throw away, yet every step felt heavy. The shadows closed in around him as he made his way down the worn path. Each footfall brought the suffocating grip of dread. Around him, the air thickened, heavy with unspoken words and buried truths. He pushed the door open and was greeted by a rush of stale air. The darkness swallowed him whole. "Hello?" His voice cracked, echoing into the void. No answer. Just the familiar smell of hay and forgotten memories. The beams creaked ominously above him. He stepped inside, straining his eyes to pierce through the night. And then he heard it, a soft whimper. James turned sharply, heart pounding. "Who's there?" A figure stepped from the shadows, pale skin contrasting against the dark wood. It was Sarah. Her face was ashen, eyes wide with terror. "James!" She rushed toward him, trembling, as if the very ground quaked beneath her. I didn't expect you to come. What's happening?" Panic clutched at his throat. He had to know. The truth was a wound that begged to be exposed. "You can't," she started, her voice shaky. "You can't trust Lily." Suddenly, the door swung open again, and Lily burst in, her expression fierce. "You have to listen. She's lying." The air crackled. Demands and denials clashed, like iron against iron. "Lily," James snapped, confusion swirling within him. "What is going on?" Before she could answer, a piercing scream shattered the air. The sound came from outside, sharp and desperate. Every hair on his body stood on end. "Stay here," he urged, taking a step backward, heart racing. But Sarah gripped his wrist tightly, anchoring him. "James, please," she whispered, eyes pleading. "It's not safe." Ignoring her, he bolted to the door, fear urging him forward. He stepped outside into a world ripped from tranquility. The moonlight illuminated a scene so surreal, it felt like a nightmare. His farmhands crouched together in shock, murmuring in disbelief. At the center of the chaos was a truck, overturned, wheels still spinning as if caught in time. But it was the figure lying motionless beside it that stole his breath away. "Uncle Fred?" The name escaped his lips, a choked whisper. James rushed to his uncle's side, body going cold at the sight of blood pooling beneath him. "No!" His voice rang out, a raw scream against the silence. He knelt beside Fred, heart hammering as he pressed a hand to the lifeless chest, hoping for a miracle that would never come. "James!" Sarah's voice cut through his fog of despair. "You need to believe me!" But as he turned to her, the realization hit him like a tidal wave. The urgency, the fear, it all connected in a way that sent icy fingers down his spine. Uncle Fred had known too much. "Did you do this?" James's voice trembled. "Did you have something to do with it?" Suddenly, Lily gasped. "No, it's her! She's tied to everything! The whispers, the lies." James's heart raced. The truth twisted around him like a noose. And then, in that instant, everything shifted. The world he thought he understood shattered before him. Who was the real monster lurking in the shadows? A single thought haunted him as darkness closed in around them. Would he ever find the truth before it consumed everything he loved? James knelt beside Uncle Fred, the warmth of his blood seeping through his fingers. The weight of despair pressed down, suffocating and unyielding. Panic gripped his heart as he looked up at Sarah, confusion churning within him. "What did you do?" "James, please." Sarah's voice trembled, but Lily interrupted, urgency pouring from her like water from a cracked pot. "Listen, you have to know the truth." She stepped closer, breathless, air darting around as if the shadows were listening. "It's not what you think. Your uncle, he carried secrets, dangerous ones." "Secrets?" James repeated, the syllables thick in his throat. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the air shifted, heavy with a new presence. A figure stepped from the darkness, silhouetted against the moonlight. It was a man, tall and brooding, with an expression that could crack stone. The shadows clung to him like a cloak. And James felt his heart stop. "James," the man said, voice smooth yet jagged, "I think it's time we had a talk." Recognition shot through James like ice. "Mark, what are you doing here?" The tension thickened, wrapping around them like barbed wire. Mark stepped forward, eyes scanning the chaos. "We don't have time for pleasantries." Fred was about to expose everything. "What?" Confusion turned to dismay. "Expose what? What do you know?" Mark's gaze flickered to Sarah, then back to James. "You've been living a lie." "No." James's voice barely escaped, a whisper lost to the wind. "It can't be." Lily took a tentative step forward. "The whispers in town." Fred wanted to reveal what Sarah was hiding, but there's more. "Stop!" James shouted. Rising to his feet, anger and fear colliding. "You're tearing everything apart." But before anyone could respond, the earth trembled beneath them. A low growl erupted, and James turned just in time to see the ground split. "None!" he shouted, adrenaline surging. As the earth cracked wider, splitting apart like a giant maw ready to swallow them whole, he grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her away from the chaos. "We need to get out of here." But as they ran, something shimmered in the dirt. James glanced back, the pulsing glow reaching into him like a siren's call. "James, don't!" Lily screamed. But it was too late. He stumbled toward the light, the world fading to black around him as he fell to his knees. The glow engulfed him, bright and blinding, and then everything stopped. It was dark. The air felt thick, heavy with dread. A voice, soft yet powerful, whispered in his mind, opening doors to memories he never knew existed. Your life was built on a lie. the voice intoned. Images flooded in. Familiar faces twisted in shadows. Laughter mingled with cries. And then, like a film reel, it snapped to a moment of Sarah, younger, standing in a different place, a different time. "James!" she was calling, but the voice felt far away, a haunting echo. The ground trembled again, violently this time. He shot up, heart racing. The barn door creaked, a gust of wind slamming it open to reveal daylight flooding in. But outside was a twisted version of his world. "James, come on!" Sarah cried out, panic painted on her face. "Where are we?" His voice was hoarse, trembling from shock. The scenery warped and twisted, buildings leaning at unnatural angles. "Just hold on." She gripped his arm tightly as the space around them began to shift again. And then, in a flash of clarity, all at once it clicked. "You knew, didn't you?" he asked, horror dawning within him. "You knew what was happening, what this place really was." But before he could piece everything together, darkness loomed. A scream broke from the depths of the shadows behind them. It was a sound filled with loss and betrayal, a chilling reminder that maybe, just maybe, truth and deception walked the same path, hand in hand. "James, we have to go!" Sarah's voice overpowered his thoughts. But something deep within him ached for answers. What was it all really about? As they fled into the swirling haze, one thought thundered in his mind. In a world where nothing was as it seemed, was anyone truly safe? As they tumbled through the haze, Sarah's grip on James tightened. The world shifted around them, a swirling storm of fear. Panic surged as he fought to catch his breath. This place felt alive, pulsing with secrets that bore down on him like a weight. "James, focus!" Sarah's voice was frantic. Her eyes darted around, wide with terror. "We have to keep moving." But he hesitated. Something crackled in the air. A pressure built, vibrating with energy. "What's happening?" he gasped, scanning the warped landscape. "Just hold on!" She tugged him when suddenly a blinding flash erupted from the ground beneath them. "Sarah!" His scream was swallowed by the brightness. It overwhelmed him, forcing him to squint against the brilliance. The light enveloped them, warping the world into a kaleidoscope of colors. And then, just as suddenly as it began, everything collapsed back to darkness. "What the?" He blinked, trying to adjust to the new surroundings. They were no longer in the twisted mockery of his home. They stood in a clearing. A serene forest juxtaposed against the chaos left behind. But as he took a deep breath, that tranquility was shattered. The ground trembled again, but this time it felt different. He could feel it in his bones, a deep, resonant thrumming. "James, look!" Sarah pointed, her voice shaking. He followed her gaze to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a dark silhouette that seemed to ripple against the sunlight filtering through the trees. As it drew closer, recognition slammed into him. It was Fred, alive. "Uncle Fred?" James's heart raced. Confusion swirled, choking him. "How can this be?" "James." Fred's voice was firm, but faint. "You have to understand, it wasn't what you thought." The world swirled again as James grappled with reality. I saw you. You were dead. I felt your blood. His voice cracked under the weight of disbelief. I needed to vanish, to protect you, Fred said, stepping into the light. His face was drawn, a mix of pain and determination glimmering in his eyes. Protect me? The words tasted bitter. You can't just disappear. What's going on? Lily, Fred whispered, casting a wary glance around. She's a part of this, a dangerous part. You need to listen to me. Dangerous? James echoed, heart racing. What do you mean? Before Fred could respond, Sarah's eyes widened. James, look out! He turned, but it was too late. In a flash, Lily appeared from the trees, her expression twisted with anger and hurt. You think you can escape the truth? She spat. You're just a puppet in their game. Fred's face hardened. Lily, stop. You don't understand. Don't I? She shot back. You're all liars. You took everything from me. Confusion swirled into panic. What are you talking about? James shouted, chest tightening. You're scaring me. I'm the only one who knows, Lily screamed, voice breaking. Your family, they're not who they say they are. You think you're safe? You don't even know your own history. James felt the ground shift beneath him. What do you mean? Enough, Fred roared, but it felt feeble. The air thrummed around them, vibrating with tension. Lily took a deep breath, the deranged fury in her eyes fading to a hollow sadness. You think Fred is your uncle? She whispered. What if I told you he's not? A deafening silence followed her words. The world tilted. Nothing felt real anymore. His heart raced as he tried to grasp her meaning. What are you saying? Fred's expression crumbled. James, please. But inside, everything shattered. Doubt and betrayal gnawed at him as he struggled to breathe. The truth was a suffocating fog, closing in, blinding him. But before he could voice his shock, the ground shook violently, and darkness threatened to swallow them whole once again. No! James yelled, grasping for clarity. In the next moment, everything exploded, colors crashing around them, memories blossoming in chaos. The voice of the forest twisted into laughter, echoed through his mind, drowning everything out. James! Sarah's terrified voice pierced the noise, trembling with urgency. We have to get out of here. Yet in that swirling chaos, another question emerged, one that threatened to crack his world apart. If Fred wasn't who he thought, then who was he? And what horrible truth lay in wait just beyond the shadows? As the ground trembled, swirling shadows enveloped them. James felt a cold pit grow in his stomach. His heart raced, and reality seemed to unravel. What do you mean, Lily? He shouted, desperation spilling into his voice. You're not making sense. Everything you believe is a lie. Lily's face twisted, anger transforming to anguish. You have to understand. Then tell me, he screamed. But her eyes darted to the trees, filled with a dreadful intensity. James, please, Fred pleaded, the urgency in his voice cutting through the tension. We have to leave before she unleashes. Unleash what? James asked. But a sudden flash of fury sparked in Lily's eyes. You're scared, aren't you? She cried out, her voice echoing against the trees. You think I'm the monster here? But you don't know what I am, what any of us are. Then she stepped forward, her features shifting, the very air vibrating around her. I'm the last link to a truth that runs deep. blood that binds us all in ways you can't fathom. You think you know your family, but you're nothing more than a pawn." James stumbled back, confusion overwhelming him. What? What are you talking about?" But before she could respond, the air crackled with energy, and a blinding light erupted from her. It surged forward, swirling in a maelstrom of heat and brilliance, catching them all in its grasp. Then it broke. Light exploded outward, sending them sprawling. James felt his heart stop as he glanced down. He was no longer standing beside Sarah and Fred. He was alone. The silence was deafening. He looked around, breathing heavily, heart thumping. The world shifted again, pulling him into a vision. The trees morphed into faces, laughing and screaming, twisting together into a chaotic dance. He staggered, fighting against dizziness, grasping for reality. And then, out of the boundless sea of shadows, a new figure emerged. A woman, her face hauntingly familiar, stepped forward. "James," she spoke softly, eyes sparkling with grief. Who are you?" he stammered. At his very core. "I'm your mother," she whispered, the word shattering the air around them. "No!" The word exploded from him. "You can't be! You died when I was a baby!" But as the anger rose, confusion deepened. With every breath, uncertainty loomed larger. "Did I?" she replied, voice trembling. "Or did I choose to leave, to protect you from the truth of our legacy?" "What legacy?" Panic twisted his gut. "What are you talking about?" "Lily, she's not just a girl. She's connected to all of this, to us," his mother continued, every word darkening the atmosphere. "It's a power we carry, your family, generations strong. It's what took Fred. It's why we had to hide." In that moment, the world snapped into focus, each truth colliding with another, unraveling everything he thought he knew. "No!" he yelled, shaking his head violently. "This can't be true." His mother's face softened. "You must understand, James. It's bigger than us. You've been living on borrowed time, avoiding a destiny you can't escape." A cold chill gripped him. "Destiny?" And as if answering his unasked question, a low growl echoed in the distance, shaking the trees. But it was the shock in his mother's eyes that drew his attention. "She's coming for you," she whispered, fear lacing her voice. "You must run!" Before he could act, everything collapsed again into darkness, pulling him into an abyss of chaos. Fear clawed at his throat. The dread of the unknown closing in, suffocating him. Did he even know who he was anymore? In that swirling void, one question loomed above all. What will happen when the shadows finally catch him? James stumbled backward, the weight of his mother's words crashing over him like a wave. His heart raced as he strained to process what she had just said. "You can't be." But before he could gather his thoughts, before he could fully grasp the situation, a blinding light erupted from the ground, and the world trembled beneath his feet again. It was a force that ripped through reality, pulling at the very fabric of everything he thought he knew. "James!" Sarah's voice echoed, but her silhouette flickered like a broken film reel. He reached for her, but the shadows stretched, drawing her away. The ground beneath him cracked wide open. He felt himself teetering at the brink of an abyss. Panic surged. He grabbed onto the roots of a tree, trying to stabilize himself. In the chaos, Fred's face hardened. "We need to—" But the rest of his words drowned in the rush of darkness. And then, out from the shifting shadows, a figure emerged. A man, cloaked in obscurity, stepped into sight, a piercing gaze locking on to James. It was Mark, but he was different. His eyes glowed with a strange energy. "I've come to finish this," Mark said, voice smooth yet layered with urgency. The very air around him crackled with tension. "Finish what?" James snapped, adrenaline coursing through him. He felt Sarah's presence flicker away, fear settling in the depths of his gut. "Finish what your family started," Mark replied, stepping closer. "You've stumbled upon something far bigger than you realize." "Back off!" James yelled, but his voice wavered. The connection to Mark shifted. There was a strange familiarity in how he moved, how he spoke. "Do you really want to know the truth?" Mark pressed, undeterred by James's fear. "You're not just their son. You're the key." James felt his heart race. Key? Key to what? But as the question hung in the air, Mark laughed softly, chillingly, like the sound of cracking ice. Door locked away for generations. One that holds the answers to everything. Your family, the power, Lily's rage. The very mention of Lily sent shivers coursing down James's spine, flooding him with unresolved dread. He opened his mouth to argue, but Mark raised a hand, stopping him cold. "It's all connected. But to do this, we need blood. Your blood." Before he could comprehend the meaning, Mark lunged forward, fingers brushing against James's wrist. A surge of energy coursed through him, consuming him whole. Colors exploded around them, voices screaming in agony and ecstasy, intertwining in a symphony of chaos. In that moment, reality shifted violently. James gasped as memories surged, visions of his mother, laughter and screams mingling, secrets whispered in. Hushed tones. He saw fragments of a life he had never lived. But alongside those memories was something darker. A mirror reflecting an image of himself, laughing maniacally as shadows flickered behind him. He recoiled, clenching his head in agony. "Stop!" he screamed. "What are you doing to me?" But Mark was unfazed, his voice cutting through the madness. "The truth hurts, James, but it's time you faced it." Suddenly, another tremor rippled across the ground. A scream pierced the air, but not from him. It was Sarah. His heart seized as he turned to see her being pulled into the darkness by the roots of the trees. "James, help!" Her voice echoed, sharp with terror. He lunged toward her, reaching out, but it was as if she were in another dimension, an illusion slipping through his fingers. Behind him, Mark stepped back, a satisfied smirk creeping onto his face. "Choose wisely, James," he called. "Follow your mother's legacy or save her. Because once you choose, there's no turning back." The world spun again, and in this moment of heart-stopping choice, James could feel the weight of everything crashing down on him. Who was truly his enemy? Who could he trust? The truth began to unravel, and in that instant, a chilling realization struck him. What if he was the monster all along? James felt time twisting around him, like the rush of a river in flood. He turned back to Mark, feeling the heat of anger rise in his chest. "You can't make this choice for me." Fear clawed its way up his throat. Sarah was still being pulled into the dark. "I won't let you take her!" Mark's smirk faded. "You think you can save her? You don't even know the truth of your own blood." His voice dropped, dark and menacing. "You're just beginning to grasp the legacy of pain and power that comes with it." With every passing second, the darkness around Sarah deepened. Panic laced through James, smothering the anger. "No!" he shouted. But the energy in the air crackled, cycling through types of fear he didn't understand. Suddenly, a roar erupted from the depths of the shadows. It sent vibrations through the ground, and the trees shook with it, roots yanking up from the earth like skeletal fingers, seeking to claim the living. James felt his heart drop. Then, from the blackness, a figure emerged. Not Lily, not another shadowy threat, but his father, his long-lost father, back from the grave. "Dad?" It was a whisper, disbelief coating every word. This couldn't be real. "James!" His father's voice cut through the chaos, a powerful force that swept James's doubts aside. "You have to stop this. You're in danger." "From who?" James took a step forward, fear pulling him in different directions. Confusion wrapped tightly around him like a shroud. "From Mark? From Lily?" "Worse," his father snapped, urgency wrapping around every syllable. "From the truth within you. The darkness will consume you if you don't control it." "Control what?" Panic twisted in James's gut. "What are you saying?" But before his father could answer, Mark lunged, an explosive movement that sent James tumbling backward. Mark's eyes glowed with sinister intent, the air buzzing with malice. He aimed to silence James before he could even grasp the enormity of it all. "Enough!" shouted James's father, raising his hand. In that moment, the ground quaked violently. Colors exploded into the air, blinding James. He stumbled back, his eyes squeezed shut. The world twisted and swirled until nothing felt solid anymore. And then came the scream, harsh and cutting. "Sarah!" His heart shattered at the sound. "James!" He wanted to rush to her, to pull her back to safety. But the shadows pulled him deeper. He shook his head fiercely. "I'll save you." But the air around him rippled, altering reality. His father reached out, but James felt a tug in his soul, a rift opening beneath him. An echo resonated, a truth too terrible to bear. And just like that, he was yanked into a vision, memories flooding his mind. Faces morphed, his past colliding with the present. He saw his mother laughing, arms outstretched to him, and just behind her, Mark was standing with a twisted smile. "Together at last," Mark whispered, the darkness swirling around him. "Time to claim your place, James. No more hiding." Then all at once it clicked. Mark and his father weren't just enemies. They were connected, much deeper than he knew. Fear gripped his chest tighter than ever. "Dad? Mark?" he stammered, confusion choking his voice. "Are you saying—" Before he could finish, reality tore again. The shadows closed in, and a rush surged through him, pulling him toward an unimaginable fate. His breath hitched as the weight of his lineage slammed into him. He could feel the power thrumming beneath his skin, beckoning. He braced himself, desperate to understand. As everything collapsed, one final thought echoed. If both his father and Mark were tied to his fate, what did it mean? For his own identity, what did he inherit from both? And as darkness settled, leaving a hollow silence in its wake, he knew he was teetering on the edge of a truth that would devour everything. Would he uncover it? Or had he already begun to lose himself in the shadows? James stumbled backward, the weight of his mother's words crashing over him like a wave. His heart raced as he strained to process what she had just said. "You can't be—" Before he could gather his thoughts, a blinding light erupted from the ground, and the world trembled beneath his feet again. It was a force that ripped through reality, pulling at the very fabric of everything he thought. He knew. "James!" Sarah's voice echoed, but her silhouette flickered like a broken film reel. He reached for her, but the shadows stretched, drawing her away. The ground beneath him cracked wide open. He felt himself teetering at the brink of an abyss. Panic surged. He grabbed onto the roots of a tree, trying to stabilize himself. In the chaos, Fred's face hardened. "We need to—" But the rest of his words drowned in the rush of darkness. And then, out from the shifting shadows, a figure emerged. A man, cloaked in obscurity, stepped into sight, a piercing gaze locking onto James. It was Mark, but he was different. His eyes glowed with a strange energy. "I've come to finish this," Mark said, voice smooth yet layered with urgency. The very air around him crackled with tension. "Finish what?" James snapped, adrenaline coursing through him. He felt Sarah's presence flicker away, fear settling in the depths of his gut. "Finish what your family started," Mark replied, stepping closer. "You've stumbled upon something far bigger than you realize." "Back off!" James yelled, but his voice wavered. The connection to Mark shifted. There was a strange familiarity in how he moved, how he spoke. "Do you really want to know the truth?" Mark pressed, undeterred by James's fear. "You're not just their son. You're the key." James felt his heart race. "Key? Key to what?" But as the question hung in the air, Mark laughed. Softly, chillingly, like the sound of cracking ice. "A door locked away for generations. One that holds the answers to everything. Your family, the power, Lily's rage." The very mention of Lily sent shivers coursing down James' spine, flooding him with unresolved dread. He opened his mouth to argue, but Mark raised a hand, stopping him cold. "It's all connected. But to do this, we need blood. Your blood." Before he could comprehend the meaning, Mark lunged forward, fingers brushing against James's wrist. A surge of energy coursed through him, consuming him whole. Colors exploded around them, voices screaming in agony and ecstasy, intertwining in a symphony of chaos. In that moment, reality shifted violently. James gasped as memories surged. Visions of his mother, laughter and screams mingling, secrets whispered in hushed tones. He saw fragments of a life he had never lived. But alongside those memories was something darker. A mirror reflecting an image of himself, laughing maniacally as shadows flickered behind him. He recoiled, clenching his head in agony. "Stop!" he screamed. "What are you doing to me?" But Mark was unfazed, his voice cutting through the madness. "The truth hurts, James, but it's time you faced it." Suddenly, another tremor rippled across the ground. A scream pierced the air, but not from him. It was Sarah. His heart shattered at the sound. "James!" He wanted to rush to her, to pull her back to safety. But the shadows pulled him deeper. He shook his head fiercely. "I'll save you!" But the air around him rippled, altering reality. His father reached out, but James felt a tug in his soul, a rift opening beneath him. An echo resonated, a truth too terrible to bear. And just like that, he was yanked into a vision, memories flooding his mind. Faces morphed, his past colliding with the present. He saw his mother laughing, arms outstretched to him, and just behind her, Mark was standing with a twisted smile. "Together at last," Mark whispered, the darkness swirling around him. "Time to claim your place, James. No more hiding." Then all at once it clicked. Mark and his father weren't just enemies. They were connected. Much deeper than he knew. Fear gripped his chest tighter than ever. "Dad? Mark?" he stammered, confusion choking his voice. "Are you saying—" Before he could finish, the shadows erupted into chaos, swallowing him in a blanket of despair. But just as quickly, a blinding light burst through the darkness. Everything froze. Time hung in the air, suspended. And in that moment, a figure emerged. A woman, familiar yet haunting. "Stop this!" she shouted, voice boiling with defiance. "All of you!" James's breath caught. He recognized her instantly. Mom? But she wasn't just his mother. She was also someone else. Her presence shifted, darkening the air. "I won't let you curse our legacy." She turned to Mark, then Fred, her eyes blazing. "You never understood. We are not what you think." "What are you saying?" James's head spun. "You think you could just decide our fate?" she called out to them, her voice shaking the ground. "Mark, you were chosen, but this isn't how it ends." The shadows recoiled, swirling around her as if she had power to bend them. "You think I'm here to settle old scores? No! I'm here to protect my son from the truth that you would use against him." James felt the ground beneath him shift again, a sickening churn. "Mom, please, what truth?" But just then, a thunderous clap reverberated through the air. The rift jerked wide open, bright light pouring through. An echo reverberated louder. "You don't know the half of it." The brightness swelled, drawing everything toward it. James's pulse quickened. What did she mean? Before he could ask, a figure shot from the light, his own reflection, but twisted, darker. It sneered at him, a mirror image filled with malice. "Welcome to your real legacy." It growled, voice layered, a melody twisted in broken notes. James felt the world around him shatter. His heart raced. In that moment, everything that had ever been, love, betrayal, choices, merged into chaos. And then the truth crashed down like a wave. Mark, his father, Sarah, none of it mattered. Because the real monster wasn't outside him. It lived within. "James!" His mother shouted as the chaos exploded, a blinding flash filling the air. "You must control it! Choose your destiny!" But in the blare of radiance, as shadows clawed at him, he felt himself being pulled into the darkness. "No!" he cried. "I won't let it take me." But as the light dimmed, one question echoed in his mind. What was his true identity if he was no longer just a son, a friend, but something far darker? James felt the weight of everything crash down around him. The shadows grew thicker, and his mother's words echoed in his heart. Just then, he heard Sarah scream again, a raw, desperate sound that cut through the darkness like a knife. "James, help me!" He turned, heart racing, but his vision blurred. The darkness enveloped him, pulsing with energy. It felt alive, like it was reaching for him, pulling him closer to the edge. "No!" he shouted, tearing his gaze away from the abyss and back to his mother. "You have to help her." But then the shadows shifted, and they all seemed to focus on Mark, who stood grinning, as if he knew something he wasn't saying. "This is bigger than you know, kid. You can't save her. You can barely save yourself." "Shut up! Just shut up!" James shouted, his voice cracking with desperation. He felt the burning need to protect Sarah, felt it deep in his chest. He couldn't let them take her. Suddenly, Mark raised a hand, and a pulse of dark energy erupted from him, shaking the world again. James staggered back. Everything tilted. Shadows twisted into grotesque forms. Just when he thought he might lose himself in despair, his father stepped forward, locking eyes with him. "James, listen!" His father's voice surged through the chaos like a beacon. "You have to control the darkness. You can't let it consume you." And in that moment, something shifted. The ground trembled violently beneath them, and James could feel a coming storm. "James!" His mother's voice rang out again, but something was different this time. It was no longer frantic. It was filled with urgency and command. "You need to make a choice. Now." Everything happened so fast. The shadows lunged at Sarah, and James felt a surge of power course through him. "No!" he yelled, desperation fueling him. He closed his eyes, willing energy to flow out, willing it to protect her. And just then, light erupted from him. A blast of pure radiance shot into the darkness, illuminating everything for a brief second. He could see Sarah, eyes wide with terror, caught in the growing dark tendrils. He could see Mark recoiling. Confusion etched on his face. He could see his father, defender yet lost, and his mother, eyes locked onto him with fear. But then it happened. The darkness bubbled and swirled, and through the chaos emerged a figure, a woman, a haunting resemblance in the way she carried herself. "Mom?" James whispered, heart racing as recognition crashed over him. And then all at once her face twisted from warmth to fury. "It's time, James. Trust me." The ground shook and suddenly the rift opened wider. Sarah cried out in desperation again, but the light from James was consumed by a wave of darkness, pulling them all in. "James, don't let her in," Mark yelled. But it was too late. The shadows wrapped around his mother, pulling her forward. "No!" He felt a wrenching pain as her energy slipped into the void. And in that instant, everything shattered. A blinding flash of light surged against the dark, and the world twisted into an explosion of colors and chaos. James screamed as flashes of memories collided, more than he could comprehend. Moments flooded him, of his mother standing with Mark, smiles that turned into secret whispers, laughter echoing through the walls of a home that felt like a prison. He saw images he had never known, a legacy of power battling against betrayal. James, a voice echoed. His mother's voice. But then it shifted, growing deeper, darker. You were always meant to be mine. And just like that, the darkness shifted, revealing the truth in a heartbeat. His mother smiled, a smile full of malice as shadows coalesced around James like a dark shroud. You belong with me, don't you see? James felt a chill sweep through him. Everything crumbled. His past, his relationships, his identity. The very foundation of who he thought he was dissolved away. In that moment, the ground beneath him vanished. Would he fall into her embrace or fight against the darkness? And most terrifying of all, what did it mean to truly belong? The haunting question echoed in his mind as they spiraled into chaos. What legacy awaited him on the other side? As the light enveloped them, time seemed to freeze. James felt a surge deep within, a clash of light and dark battling for his soul. The glow intensified, illuminating the faces around him. "Mom!" he shouted, desperate for guidance. "Help me break this!" "James," she replied, voice steady despite the chaos. "You have the power to choose your path. Don't let the darkness define you." Mark's sinister laughter echoed, mixing with the screams of Sarah in the distance. "It's too late, James," he taunted. "You cannot escape your legacy, your true self." "No!" James's voice thundered with defiance. "I won't let you control me. I won't be trapped by what you want me to be." The shadows writhed, unleashed by his conviction. Electricity crackled in the air as he focused on the light within himself. Memories flickered through his mind. His mother's laughter, Sarah's kindness, the warmth of family dinners. Those moments grounded him. They reminded him of who he was beyond the darkness. "James, you can do this," his mother urged. "Believe in yourself." With a fierce cry, he reached into the swirling void, feeling the power within him pulse. "I choose me." A burst of blinding light erupted from him, forcing the shadows back. It clawed at the darkness, illuminating the truth he had long feared. The figures in the void screamed, twisted into the shapes of monsters, but their power waned against the strength of his resolve. "No!" Mark shouted, retreating as the light pushed him away. "You can't do this! Watch me!" James yelled, feeling the chains of the past break apart. The shadows dissolved into wisps as he turned towards Sarah, reaching for her. "Hold on, I'm coming!" As he surged forward, the darkness receded, revealing Sarah caught in the remnants of the void. Fear filled her eyes, but hope glimmered. "James, please!" The moment their hands touched, a surge of warmth surrounded them. Together, they radiated light, illuminating the dark corners of the world around them. With each breath, they felt stronger, their souls entwined, anchoring each other against the tide. "Let's end this," he declared, as they faced the remnants of Mark and the shadows. They joined together, a shield against the darkness. "Together," Sarah echoed, fervently squeezing his hand. In that instant, they unleashed their combined power, a magnificent explosion of light erupting into the void. Mark's form disintegrated, the shadows fading into nothingness. "No!" he cried, but it was a sound swallowed by the brilliance surrounding James. And Sarah, as the light faded, the darkness dispelled, revealing a landscape of calm. The chaos evaporated, leaving behind only the breath of a gentle breeze. James turned to Sarah, eyes wide. "Is it over?" She nodded slowly, relief flooding her features. "I think so." But whispered doubts danced in James's mind. The echoes of the past still lingered. "What do we do now?" he asked, uncertainty bubbling just beneath the surface. "We start fresh," Sarah replied, squeezing his hand firmly. There was strength in her voice, a promise of new beginnings. And as they stood in the soft glow of dawn, the weight of their ordeal began to lift. But the shadows of their history lingered, reminders that some secrets still needed revealing. They looked at one another, determination reflected in their eyes. "What about your family?" Sarah ventured, voicing the uncertainty that had gripped both of their hearts. "I'll face them," James resolved. "I'll uncover the truth for all of us." As they walked forward, the sun rose behind them, casting long shadows yet to be conquered. The question hung in the air. Would the past finally let them go? Or would the legacy of darkness return to haunt them? There was only one way to find out. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss what's coming next. This is the moment to show your support for the channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now. You need to watch this now. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity.